And I am going to call the meeting of the Human Affairs Committee to order via teleconference. As chairwoman of the Human Affairs Committee, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, and in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12, pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, I am confirming that we are providing access to the meeting by telephone with additional access possibilities by video or other electronic means. We are using Zoom, and the meeting link can be found on the agenda as well as on the city's website. You can also join by dialing 1-929-205-6099, and the meeting ID is 874-6716-3998 with the passcode of 980166. The public may also view this meeting on Comcast Channel 6. We previously gave notice to the public of the necessary information for accessing the meeting through public postings. Instructions have been provided on the City of Nashua's website at nashuanh.gov and publicly noticed at City Hall and the public library. If anyone has a problem accessing the meeting via phone or Comcast 16, please call 603-821-2049 and they will help you connect. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting via the methods mentioned above, the meeting will be adjourned and rescheduled. Please note that all votes that are taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. Let's start the meeting by taking roll call attendance. When each member states their presence, please also state whether there is anyone in the room with you during this meeting, which is required by the right to know law. Alderman Wilshire?
Alderman Clee.
She may join us later.
Okay, Alderman Karen.
Yes, I'm here. I can hear you and I am alone.
Alderwoman Kelly.
I'm here, I'm alone, and I can hear everyone.
Alderman Harriet Gathright.
I am present. I'm in this room alone and I can hear everyone.
Alderman Wilshire is here alone and I can hear everyone. We have 4 yeas, 4 members present.
Okay, great. Also in attendance, I see Director Marchant and Alderman Lopez. Anyone else? Okay. So the top of the agenda today is a public hearing around amending HUD action plan to accept the CARES Act funds. And I am going to have Ms. Skeena or Ms. Marchant, not sure which one wants to talk about it. Just give us a quick update before we open the public hearing.
Hi, Carrie Skeena, manager of the urban program. Sorry, I lost connection for a second there, so hopefully this stays stable. So the CARES Act funding, we call it CDBG CV for coronavirus. And this is an allocation from HUD. It was part of the original CARES Act. HUD was going to award these funds in 3 separate rounds. This is the final round 3. That was based on certain priorities that they set having to do with economic impact and different jurisdictions that were affected by coronavirus more than others. So it was sort of unexpected allocation. We didn't know what they were going to base those priorities on. And we previously received CARES Act funding and established what we called the COVID Impact Fund back in the late spring. And we pooled with economic development, who also had revolving loan funds at the time. So what we're proposing is to do the same thing this time around. Economic development had also received another allocation of revolving loan funds. So between the 2 programs, we again have over $1 million that we can get out into the community. This round, we are focusing on businesses that have been impacted with a heavy focus on what we call disadvantaged businesses. So those are the minority or woman-owned businesses and also small micro enterprise. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. We hope after this goes through the whole process and is approved by the Board of Aldermen in late February, that we would release applications for about a 2-week period. Those applications will be available online on the city's website, much like they were last time. And certainly if people have questions or businesses have questions about applying and eligibility, we would encourage them to reach out. We'll have contact information for them to do that.
Great. So I would ask Alderman, unless there's a clarifying question, I'd love to just do the public hearing and then we can ask any questions when we bring it up in our regular meeting. Okay. So I am going to call for testimony in favor. Are there any members of the public that would like to speak? If you would, please state your name and address. All right, seeing none, I will call for testimony in opposition. Again, any members of the public that would like to speak, please state your name and address. Seeing none, I will do testimony in favor one more time. I don't see any. And testimony in opposition. Okay, seeing none, we will declare the public meeting closed at 7:07 p.m. and head on to our regular meeting. Okay, just making sure nobody had a last minute hop on. Okay, so moving into our regular meeting of the Human Affairs Committee, we open up with public comments. I don't see any members of the public here. Okay. So then we'll go into communications, please.
Sorry. We have a communication from Carrie Skeena, Urban Programs Manager, regarding FY22 HUD Annual Action Plan. We have another communication from Carrie Skeena, Urban Programs Manager, regarding the Citizens Advisory Commission updates. And a third communication from Carrie Skeena, Urban Programs Manager, regarding Resolution 21-112, public hearing on CDBG CV funding. You're on mute.
Let's try that again. If there's no objection, I will accept those communications and place them on file. Okay, new business resolutions.
Before us tonight, we have Resolution 21-112 relative to amending the FY 2020 HUD Annual Action Plan to accept round 3 of CDBG CV funding under the 2020 CARES Act. I would make a motion to recommend final passage of Resolution 21-112.
By roll call?
By roll call.
Great. Are there any members of the committee that have questions or comment? This is open for discussion now. Alderman Wilshire.
What kind of businesses, again, are you looking to help with this? I know you said micro businesses. Do you have some in mind that you could share with us, or when those might be available for small businesses?
The applications we hope will become available at the end of February. We're shooting for February 25th, pending Board of Aldermen approval. The types of businesses, there are no specific in mind. When we opened this up last time, it really ran the gamut for types of businesses, from food service to nail salon to fitness. You know, there was quite a myriad of businesses who applied. And so I know economic development has been marketing this in the business community, and we've been trying to get the word out with our partners as well, you know, try to get it onto social media and through these platforms so that people are aware of the assistance.
Okay. It's the same parameters as the first round?
Yes, we will be under CDBG. It would be a grant because that's what the funds allow. We would cap that at $25,000 so that we can assist the maximum number. And economic development, again, they would have their terms, but those would be loans. And because of coronavirus and the pandemic, they've been able to loosen up some of their lending terms a little bit better than what had been a couple of years ago. And under the last round with the just over $1 million, I think in total we assisted about 32 entities. So it would likely be, we hope, around that same number, and and hopefully have good impact in the community.
Great, thank you so much.
Alderman Lopez?
Are there restrictions on how someone can, on what someone can use this for? What I'm hearing is that it's a grant, meaning you don't pay it back, versus economic development's loans, which you would pay back. So can you use this for payroll protection, or do you have to use this for infrastructure improvements or supplies or anything like that?
So the restrictions really would be that it's not for like business expansion or infrastructure build out. So it's really to help mitigate the impact of lost revenue due to COVID. It's to help mitigate those additional costs that businesses have incurred to establish their business safely. And so it can cover payroll, it can cover operational costs. And we have the guidelines attached, I think, in the agenda, and it kind of goes through, I don't have it right in front of me, so I apologize, but it does step through what those eligible costs would be. But again, really the limitations would be expanding their business or, kind of trying to grow. It's really just not for that. It's to keep you going during this crisis. And Director
Yes,
Marchand,
Alderman Lopez.
I don't.
Well, as a follow-up, I know that some businesses have put a considerable amount of investment into being able to operate under COVID conditions. So two examples that come to mind are a business that might be looking to purchase picnics or picnic tables and umbrellas to use outdoor seating in order to maintain their capacity, or a business that might be trying to do a sidewalk service window so that they're not as reliant on indoor seating.
Sure, I'll take that one since Carrie's on me now. So those are eligible expenses, very specifically any increased costs due to COVID. So certainly the outdoor seating, the window, but also if you need to establish an online entity, right? And maybe you didn't have great takeout online or ordering online, these funds can be used to cover a system that would help support a business shifting over to an online as well, which I think is an important factor. But perishable inventory, things that were lost, wages, very important. And just basic things as mortgage, rent, utilities. So it is about operational costs and about helping businesses to be the most efficient they can during COVID.
So wages could be covered if it's a
Yes.
role related to COVID or something like that.
Yes, especially for a low mod job. That's important. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that.
Any other thoughts or questions from the committee? I have something, but I wanted to make sure everybody got time. So I just wanted to weigh in on this piece. I know that Director Marchand and Ms. Kina and I have been chatting quite a bit about this. I think that as aldermen, as this rolls out, hopefully, we pass this so we have a conversation about it. It's important to look for, and I've talked to a number of businesses who may have been missed by some of the federal funding if they didn't, have a relationship for PPP, or, they just didn't think maybe it was worth it for only 15,000 or something like that. That's really what these are designed for. And like Sarah said, they're micro. So we're not looking for businesses that have 50 employees, that kind of thing. We're looking to help the sort of mom and pop shops here in Nashua who are just trying to get through till we have a resolution on all of this. Okay. If there's nothing else, June, did you want to say something, or you just
No,
lit up?
we've got our answers on. Ms. Wilshire gave the question that I would have asked, so thank you.
Okay, awesome. All right. If there's nothing else, I think we can call the roll, please.
The motion before us is to recommend final passage of resolution 21-112. Alderman Clee. Oh, sorry, she's not here. Alderman Karen.
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman Harry Gathright,
Yes.
Alderman Wilshire votes yes. That's 4 yeas, 0 nays.
Great, and that motion passes. Okay. New business ordinances,
We have none.
and there's nothing tabled in committee. So under general discussion tonight, I wanted to take some time to go through the applications that we've received for CDBG. And I don't know if Sarah or Carrie want to kick us off with that, but we all received them through email. I just wanted to go through each one of them, see if there's any questions from the committee that we can send back out so that we're ready to allocate them next meeting. Dr. Marcia?
I'll give a quick start. Thank you, Sarah Marsha. So,
But
you
can
know,
I
this
just
is
interject for 1 second?
Mhm.
Can you tell me when they were sent out? Because
they were
okay.
sent out in January.
In January, and did it come from you? I'm gonna
It
go
came from
look.
Carrie Skeena.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah. No problem. Okay, so sorry. So yes, just a quick overview. We do this every year, looking to allocate these funds and reallocate funds from last year that weren't able to be used. I think, as in Ms. Skeena's memo, COVID impacted everybody a little bit differently, and the decisions that were made last year, while those resources were appreciated, were maybe not all able to be used as they were originally intended. I think this is an important program, and I would be happy to answer any questions about the Railchill East NHTOT match as needed. But the other thing I just wanted to say is that this is a 7-member committee that is also reviewing the CAC applications, and they're reviewing 37 applications. And I just think that that's a pretty awesome volunteer committee to take such a time commitment to in-depth go through all the financials and review these projects. And they put a lot of work and effort in, and I just wanted to make sure we thanked them for that effort.
Oh, that's a really nice call out. Ms. Skeena, did you want to say anything, or can we go ahead?
Oh, no, so not much to add. Typically, I just like for the public to give a quick overview that this is an annual process. The city receives these funds directly from HUD based on a formula. We don't apply for them competitively, so it's based on our population and poverty levels, housing statistics. We do not have the exact number yet. The funds were included in the federal budget, so hopefully HUD's working on those formulas right now. And by March, I would hope that we would have a true number so that when it gets to allocating funding, we don't have to whittle things around much afterwards. The process is, we have a few months. So again, I know you guys meet again in March and talk about it. It takes the shape of a resolution and goes back, or I guess it goes to the Board of Aldermen as a full board first, and then back again to this committee in April, which will have a public hearing at that time. So there is good opportunity for the public to be involved. The proposals were sent out this year was different because obviously everything is different now, and we did them electronically. So those were shared through a Google link. That link is also posted on the city's website under the Urban Programs Department. So if people want to look at the proposals and know those details, that's all available.
And I don't know if Director Marchand or wants to just, I know you mentioned the rail trail, but there are 2 other projects that you're asking for the city. I think they're very similar to last year. We had the housing rehab program, et cetera, as well. Do you want to just give us a quick voiceover?
Absolutely, thank you. So the rental improvement program and the homeowner occupied improvement program are 2 pretty essential programs that we started. The owner occupied one has been going on for several years, but the rental program is relatively new. We piloted it 2 years ago, I believe. Maybe this is its 3rd round, but this has been a very successful program. We have historically some very old housing units in the downtown. And one of the most important things that we just found out in the housing study and that we kind of knew is that keeping up that stock is incredibly important. And as these housing units have been around for a very long time, they have had a longer stream of disinvestment. They're also very affordably priced, and we'd like to keep them this way. And so this program is excellent in that we restrict the affordability of those units. In exchange, this program helps to upgrade major improvements needed, say a roof or an HVAC system or essential services like that. So those are important programs, and I'm sure Ms. Skeena can speak to the actual improvements that we've done recently on those better than I can. As far as the Railchill East, this is a project that has been underway for well over 2 years probably. The original matching funds were over $1 million from DOT. And as we've gotten into final engineering with this project, we've found not only has COVID caused increased costs in basic construction and supplies, but in addition, we've also found some more hazardous soils, materials, as to be expected around an old railroad line, I guess, just more than we expected. And so costs have increased in the time that we've been engineering this project. And so we have put a request into NHDOT, which we believe it's very close to being accepted and finalized, but to do that, it's an 80-20 match, and we need the additional 20% match. So this is a request for that. It will directly serve the community that abuts the East Hollis Street and this new rail trail corridor, which we hope to start construction on next spring.
Great. Before we move on, I appreciate that, Sarah. I meant to do this at the top of this, but just remind us of the top priorities that came out of the planning we did last year. So I have, and correct me if I'm wrong, affordable housing, economic development, expanding public services, and creating livable communities, as well as homelessness as our top 5 from the big planning project that we did last year.
Yes, that is correct. I would say the economic development piece is really focused around transportation too. So I don't want to miss that, because we heard from so many of our partners that transportation is incredibly important.
Yeah, and thank you for that note. Did I miss anything?
No.
Okay, great. Alderman Lopez, I saw your hand up.
Yeah, I wanted to highlight the need for the Railchill East project. It's not exactly like an amenity or let's use this to kind of attract young people kind of feature. It's essential for public safety in a lot of areas. There's been a lot of new housing going up down on the East Hollis Street area. A lot of people who don't have access to cars. I have seen and heard a lot of concerns and complaints about people having difficulty transiting from that area to the downtown area. Although there's been a lot of construction done recently on one side, and some of the sidewalks have been very much improved. There's also the sidewalks that are used by like emergency room ambulances, and there's a parking lot with traffic. Having safer pedestrian transportation and a byway where people who are on foot or on bike, perhaps on Segway, can travel safely is important. And this is a particularly helpful loop for people, because it closes a section of walkable pathways that includes the Riverwalk, and would basically allow pedestrians to stay in a closed loop that circles all of downtown, so that they're not essentially underfoot or crossing roads when people are trying to drive through them. The second comment, I just wanted to double check with Director Marchant in terms of how I'm understanding the TLC grant, I guess, for older buildings, small apartments, and that would be for low-income housing. How many units do you need to be considered eligible for this? Is this for single occupancy, or maybe like 4 units and above?
Dr. Marcia?
So thank you. So there's 2 different programs. If you are the owner of the home, it doesn't have to be single family. It can be up to 4 units, and you can qualify under the owner occupied housing program. The same program is available for the rental housing program. And so to be rental housing, it would have to be, actually, I'm going to pass that one to Ms. Skeena, because I'm more familiar with exactly the owner occupied one.
Thank you, Carrie Skeena. So the rental improvement program under our housing is for up to 8 units. Again, we're still trying to target sort of that mom and pop ownership. We're not looking for these, massive rental properties that tap our limited resources. And again, it's for those critical code repairs that Sarah mentioned, unsafe electrical, plumbing, heating issues, things like that. The funds being limited do have to prioritize to the most critical needs. They have to be renting to low income occupants. We report that back to HUD in our system, so that's very important. And they agreed to keep it rented to low income occupants for several years following. They also have to contribute, a 10% match to the total cost of the project, and we cap them as well for the loans. The program was originally designed when we did the pilot to not only cap the financial assistance, but to say that only one owner could obtain a loan per year, because again, we really want to spread that out and we don't want to allocate it all in one place.
Do those types of repairs, you mentioned electrical and critical repairs, what about handicap accessibility or roof repair kind of stuff?
Yeah, if I may, yes, absolutely. Accessibility is a huge component. We do it a lot under the owner occupied program for sort of obvious reasons, as people are aging in place or maybe have had an accident or some incident that occurred. But we would absolutely be able to do that under the rental program if there was a tenant that had a need for that. And roofs, we just actually did most of one before the snow came and finished it up in the spring. But that's a very common thing that we do.
As an alderman,
Are you all set, Alderman Lopez?
I was just going to respond.
Sure.
As an alderman, a lot of the concerns that I get are specifically about, apartments where they can't maintain occupancy when there are roof issues and it starts to leak, and there's concern about that. But then I've also seen a large number of people displaced from apartments that they may have lived in for years following a mobility impairment that they can no longer get easily in. Even just a few steps, the landlord won't invest in a ramp or that kind of stuff.
Are you
That
all
was
set?
it. Very much. Yep.
Great. Okay, so that gets us through the City of Nashua projects. Thank you for that. Are there any questions from the committee around those projects? I think we're fairly familiar with them from last year. Everybody's very quiet tonight. Okay, so the other projects we have before us, I have Opportunity Networks. I actually see someone with that name on the Zoom. I don't know if that is someone who would like to speak to this.
Hi, my name's Steph. How are you guys tonight? I am
Yes.
from Opportunity Networks.
Great. Could you state your name and address, please?
Sure. My full name is Stephanie Willette, and my address is actually in Manchester, New Hampshire. It's 1425 Bodwell Road, Manchester, New Hampshire.
Okay, great. And did you want to speak quickly to your application?
I can, absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity. So we put in an application to sort of piggyback off of the two projects that we're having done. We just finished a bathroom renovation and we have another one that's going to start in April. And what we found is that the plumbing in our office is at least 40 something years old, and it really does not meet our needs. We have a 12-gallon water heater, which you run out of hot water washing your hands. We found that some of the drain pipes are not big enough to meet the demands and needs that we have. We also are, if people are not familiar with Opportunity Networks, we work with adults with disabilities and we work on life skills. And so we have several individuals we serve who would like to learn how to do laundry. And so we are looking to put in a washer and a dryer, not only to help with hygiene, because as one can imagine, we do actually do a lot of laundry for the people that we serve. And we have need to do that regularly. But we'd also like to teach some of our clients how to efficiently do laundry and help build those life skills so that they are able to move out into an independent or semi-independent living situation. Our main focus is just trying to get some new water heaters in there, get the plumbing to a place that meets the demand and needs that we're putting on it, and hopefully the washer and dryer. Anybody have any questions?
Thank you so much for that overview. I see Alderman Wilshire with her hand up.
Thank you. Do you own the building that you are operating in?
We do not. We are a long-term tenant. We've been there for, I think it's 16 years, and we have another 6 or 7 years on this lease. We do intend to stay there for many more years to come. It just suits the needs of our individuals. So we are a very long-term tenant. We do have permission from the building owner. He did sign off on this.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Other committee members have questions? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you
Just
very much.
Yeah, thank you for being here to speak. I appreciate that.
Anytime.
Just just so the committee knows here, if you add up sort of what's been asked, and if we assume level funding, we're going to have to look at probably about half. So we'll just have to keep that in mind as we're going through. So I did Opportunity Networks. I have Nashua Center here. I don't think there's anyone here for Nashua Center, but I could be wrong. So this application, if we looked over it, they are looking for $75,000 for HVAC replacement. I'll open up to the committee to see if there's any questions or questions we might want to send back to them to keep our process moving along here. Anyone from the committee? Alderman Lopez has a question.
Madam Chair?
Oh, Alderman Karen, you please go first.
Yes. You just said Nashua Center for the HVAC, they want 75,000. I have 70 down here.
I'm looking at the application that's in the drive, and it says 75,000, but maybe
Okay.
I can. Oh, she's raising her hand. Here we go.
Yes, they initially did apply for 75,000, and we followed up with them to see if they could include a quote. We typically ask the applicants to do that just so we know we're in the right ballpark. And upon receiving a quote, they said they would reduce that down to 70. So I think the spreadsheet has 70 and the application itself says 75.
Okay.
Perfect.
Thank you for the correction. Thank you.
Thanks, June. I appreciate that. Other questions from the committee? Okay, Alderman Lopez.
I was actually going to ask Alderman Clemens, not Clemens, I'm sorry, Karen, if she happened to know about the HVAC repairs, whether this is improving air conditioning systems, improving filters.
Alderman Karen, do you have any information on that? Do you want to respond?
No, I don't. No,
Okay.
I don't. No, I was just concerned when you said 75, and I thought maybe my paper was wrong. So
Yeah, so we've cleared that up. Thank you, though. That's good to know.
thank
It's a
you.
little bit less. Alderman
Thank you.
Lopez, just looking at the quote that they have here, it looks like there's some demolition and installation for 5 units. And I'm making sure I'm reading the right thing here. That's what I see.
5 units. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
I would be speculating. I was just trying to figure out what they were looking for. The senior center does have an important role as the opposite of a warming station, a cooling station in the summer. But they also have housing attached. So I'm wondering if the individual units are somehow associated with that. I'm just curious. Thanks.
Alderman Wilshire.
It's not the senior center, Alderman Lopez. It's the National Center for the Multiply Handicapped.
Okay, so it's a different program altogether.
Yeah.
Sorry, Alderman Karen. I guess you wouldn't have inside knowledge.
Sorry about
You
that,
had me
June.
a little.
I was a little confused too, but I was just passing on the question. It's like, wait a minute, that's not the senior center. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions on this one? All right. I'm going to go back. We have the Plus Center again. It looks like they're also looking to do a bathroom. I think last year we funded them for a bathroom and they're looking to do an additional one. Does anyone have questions? I'm looking at, so the amount of requests, unless it changed from the application, is $69,800, and that's another ADA bathroom upgrade with a central air installation as well. I have to say, I really like these online applications. They're nice and easy to move through. No questions from the committee on this one? Pretty straightforward. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna go to PAL. Application next. So the PAL, yep, Alderman Wilshire, do you want to speak to it?
You go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I was just gonna give a quick, it looks like they're looking for about $11,370 for fire and safety enhancements of the youth safe haven. Words. Alderman Wilshire.
Well, I was curious. They just had that big renovation done. I don't have the applications in front of me. Sorry about that. I just have the list. I could probably find them in my email, but no, I was just curious because I know they just had all this work done over there. And do you know exactly, maybe Carrie, maybe you could tell me what this work is, because I don't have the application. Sorry.
So the application, which I have in front of me, and maybe Carrie knows more, but it says that the recent building on Hope, which is what you're talking about, renovation brought many safety upgrades to the building. However, there are a few additional enhancements required. So I guess it just didn't cover it all.
Okay.
And if Ms. Gina knows more, I would love to let her weigh in.
No, I don't actually know more necessarily, although last year PAL had come before the city and received $20,000, which was going to be for some fire improvement related work and some other modifications, but then they received that large grant. So you'll see, in the memo, they're actually up at the top of the list for being reprogrammed. And then this is a new request this year for slightly less, but it seems like it's definitely all fire related. So I think it has to do with the fire escape, just being familiar with the building. I think that's off the back of the building. Yeah. And again, it sounds like it wasn't covered. So it may have been I think it might have been a case where last year they, didn't know they were going to get that other grant, and then they got it, and then it didn't end up covering what they actually ultimately needed on the fire stuff. So they were back this year, but we can confirm that if you want.
No, that's fine. Thank you. Appreciate it.
So if I could clarify, Ms. Gina, are you saying they asked for 20,000 and didn't actually, you're reprogramming because they didn't actually use it? So in essence, they're coming back for much less than they originally came for?
That does appear to be the case. I haven't had a direct conversation with them. And so when this new application came in this year, I was looking through it and I thought, oh, well, we just had this money last year. So I don't know if it's exactly the same work, and if we would be in a position where we could say, well, we had already awarded it to you, can we just modify? And I think that's a question maybe worth asking if the committee wants to go that way. But yeah, we're kind of, we're taking 20,000 from last year that they ended up declining once they got that other big grant, and then now putting them back on the docket for I think it's 11,000 this year.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it would warrant a conversation just to know a little bit more about where that project went. I think we were all really interested from an overall board of aldermen, and just, sort of where they are now. So I'm sure you'll reach out, but also I would love to have them at the next meeting. Alderman Lopez.
Just for random input, I had a conversation with Sean Nelson last year about the CDBG requests, and it was mostly associated with the expenses around installing fire doors and sprinklers. Then they had the building on Hope thing, And their current submission this year looks like it has quotes for a fire door and then repainting their fire escape in the back.
Great, thank you, Alderman Lopez. Okay, anything else on this? It sounds like this one, we have a couple of follow-up questions.
I think you're muted.
How many times? I mean, this is almost a year and still we have this happen all the time. Okay. I was saying I'm going to jump to the children's home project and we'll leave the soup kitchen to the end. So Lori, do you know anything about this project?
I will not be discussing this. I can tell you what it is. There's a rubber roof. Well, there's a slate roof on the main part of the house on Concord Street. And then there's a rubber roof that goes over used to be a carport or whatever, where the horse and buggy used to drive through. But the rubber roof is gone. It's pretty much gone. So it's to replace just the rubber part, not the slate part of the roof.
Great,
That's all I
thank
know.
you. So it looks like the amount of the request is $35,000 for that rubber roof replacement. Does the committee have questions? I hear someone off mute, but I'm not sure if that it's intentional. Okay. We're gonna move on. It's pretty straightforward. All right, Marguerite's Place. Right, so the Marguerite's Place application is for, I should print these out a little faster, $59,400. They're looking to replace a boiler. Seems also pretty straightforward, and I don't see anyone with the committee for discussion. No? I think what we'll do too is we'll just ask those basic questions we did last time, which was if you didn't get all, what would you do? I think those are a good kind of baseline. Just wanted to run through them and make sure there weren't any larger questions from us. Right, Marguerite's Girls Inc., I believe, is looking to replace the roof in the gymnasium. Just, yep. So $29,685 to replace the roof of the gymnasium over there. Alderman Lopez.
I guess Ms. Skeena or Director Marshall might be able to remind me, but didn't they do this like a couple of years ago? Or was that maybe the cafeteria?
Ms. Skeena?
Yes, so I can take that. Director Marchand had dropped off earlier. So I've been here, I think, about 13 years now. And at the start of this, Girls Inc. had come in looking for some assistance with their roof. And at the time, I believe it was the main roof, and it ended up being very complicated to do and very expensive. And so they did not end up going through with it with the CDBG funds because it wasn't nearly enough to touch it. I believe some of that was addressed in their renovation that they recently did. They did a massive overhaul there at that facility as well. And so this sounds like if it's over the gymnasium, that was a piece that wasn't necessarily renovated. And so this would be separate. So we haven't done it twice to answer the question.
Just checking. I don't think it'll be the first place to discover that a roof was a lot more complicated than they thought it was.
Yeah, and the application actually mentions that it's leaking into the gymnasium right now. So it's a pretty important thing for them to be able to fix for when the girls are back. Okay. I only see one other, and then we have the children's home piece that I would like. I can bring it forward. I'm on the board, so I'll be doing what Lori did. Okay, so we have one from Gateways, which actually I don't believe has come before us before. And actually, I think I saw Ruth on here earlier. Did she drop off? Maybe we lost her. She was on earlier. So maybe we can get her back for next time if there's some questions, but there's $21,270 to do some, it looks like covering the housing needs yet. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what it is. There's a fence. That's what it was, the fence. Thank you. We talked about this earlier too. So they're looking to replace a fence. And it looks like they are over on Atherton Ave. So maybe Miss, I can't read it, Morissette will be able to join us for another meeting in case there's any questions there. I'd love to know a little bit more about their overall program since this is the first time they've come before us. Alderman Wilshire.
Hi, yeah, they have come before us in the past. That probably, I don't know how recent, it's probably been several years, but they are a huge organization working with people with developmental disabilities. They have tons of people that work for them and through them, and it's quite an awesome program they have over there. But yeah, they haven't been for a while, but I know they have applied in the past. So yeah, good group. Sandy Pelletier, I think, is still the director there. Do you know, Carrie, if Sandy Pelletier is still the executive director?
Not offhand, and I should if I looked at the application.
Sorry. Okay.
I have it in front of me. She is still the executive director.
Okay.
Sorry, I just happen to have them in front of me. So yeah.
Very
And
good
Ruth
to work
is
with.
Good.
Yeah. So.
And I did.
Yeah, and go ahead.
Oh, sorry. So I did actually speak with this group before they applied, just to run through eligibility and the work that's needed. They have multiple residential sites, their homes, where it's group living. So the individuals who, need those supportive services have somebody in the home to help with those daily tasks. And they have sites outside of Nashua, and we talked through it, and I advised that these would be for just Nashua facilities, and so that's what the two before you are.
Thank you so much. Okay. Any other questions or thoughts around that application? Okay. So the last one is for the soup kitchen.
If you want me to speak to it, I'm okay.
Sure.
Okay. The amount of the request is for $425,000. And it appears as though the Roman Catholic Bishop of Manchester is offering a 40-year lease to the soup kitchen for 35 Spring Street at $1 per year. And anything else you want to add? So they're looking to help fund that at $425,000. Is that correct?
That's what I
Madam
see.
Chair?
Alderman Karen.
Yes.
And then Ms. Skeena, I saw your hand.
Oh, okay. Well, that's what I was going to ask. Can we get a synopsis of what that $425,000 is for?
It's transitional housing, if I remember correctly, at 35 Spring Street, right across from the post office, correct?
No, right. I know what that is, but what's the money being used for?
Ms. Skeena?
Sure. So I've had multiple conversations with the soup kitchen. Currently, the city has 75,000 allocated of CDBG from, I think, 2 cycles ago toward this project. And it was to renovate the building and convert it. So it's, my understanding is it's 4 separate floors. The first floor actually was recently done under some other COVID grants that came out, again, unexpectedly, like everything. And so they've been able to address the first floor. The other floors, as I understand, will have some administration space, emergency sheltering. And then the 4th floor is where that transitional housing is going to be. And they also have other funds coming in through New Hampshire Housing Finance Authority. So we've been working closely on that because it's other federal funds. So we've had to tie together and do noticing and environmental reviews and things like that because of the money we already have tied into it. So the way I understand is at this time, there's still a significant financial gap for the project as a whole, but the 4th floor specifically, which is the transitional housing, is I believe it's around 1.6 million. So they're trying to look for sources to close that gap. And this 425, I think the way it's written, Alderman Karen, is just really for general construction costs. And so we would have to go through and really pinpoint what those costs would be. But it's, you know, they've gotten quotes and like everything, costs have been skyrocketing and they're just trying to close that gap.
I can add to that. Obviously, I won't be voting on this, but oh, Alderman Karen, you want to go?
Oh,
Or is that
yes,
enough?
I wanted to say, yeah, thank you for that update. But, you know, looking at these numbers and the estimated amount that's going to be available, I mean, just giving them $425,000 is going to just about wipe us out to help some of the other agencies. So I think we as a committee really have a lot to think about. You know, there's 3 requests that are in, it's over $600,000 out of the, you know, what we're looking for total availability. So, you know, maybe having some of these questions answered for our next meeting, or having some of these people there to answer some of the questions that committee members might have might not be a bad idea. You know,
Are there any specific questions? I know it seems to be identified that it's just general construction, but are there any specific questions that we might need to get back to the soup kitchen? Obviously, I think having them here for the meeting is important. Go ahead.
Right. I think, you know, they should have a basic list of what they think they can get done with that kind of money, and, you know, even estimated costs. You know, I think that would be important for the committee to have.
Okay. So a basic list of what it would cover. Great.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you.
So I just wanted to add, uh-oh, did I lose you, everybody? Oh, okay. I just wanted to add a couple of facts to what Ms. Skeena overviewed. So one of the things, and it's in the application, but they're really trying to, with this new shelter, increase the amount of beds we have for single women and families, which is an issue that we've had in Nashua in terms of having enough space for specifically those populations. So this really does increase those beds, and they actually, as Ms. Skeena pointed out, were able to open a little bit early to help with some of the needs that have been increased by COVID. So the whole bottom floor is currently open. Okay. Are there any other questions from the committee on this one? Sounds like there's lots. We'll have someone come next meeting. I think that is all of the applications we received. So we did kind of go through all of them. Is there any additional general discussion here around these? or anything else you want to discuss? All right, everyone's quiet tonight. Then we will move on to public comments. I don't see any members of the public. Are there any remarks by the alderman? Nobody. Okay.
Lou?
There's no pop.
Ward 6?
Oh, Alderman Lou. Sure.
Thanks. I think I heard that Ms. Skeena said that this is available on line. And I just wondered where that's found. Or is that for the committee only? Can you hear me?
We can hear you. I was looking to see if Ms. Skeena had the answer.
Okay, yes, the link to, so all the applications are stored. We're using Google, a shared drive under Google Drive. And I believe Donna Graham recently sent an email to the full board. Maybe not, it might have just been Human Affairs that contained the link directly, but it is also posted on the Urban Programs webpage on the City of Nashua site.
Thank you.
I forward it to you all. Have it.
All right, thank you.
Is there anyone else? All right, I need a motion, please.
Make a motion to adjourn by roll call.
Okay. Motion is to adjourn.
Alderman Karen,
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman Harriet Gathright,
Yes.
Alderman Wilshire votes yes. We have 4 yeas, 0 nays.
And that motion passes and we are adjourned at 7:57 p.m.